Welcome to the Reviews Without Remorse podcast with Joe and Dave. Be warned, the discussions in this podcast will contain detailed spoilers. For spoiler-free reviews of newly released films, please check out our channel Reviews Without Remorse on YouTube and VidMe. Enter at your own risk and enjoy the show.
And welcome to the most important podcast you will listen to today. My name is David, also known as the Man with the Plan. And coming from a 2-hour time difference, my good friend, the wielder of the mighty Mjolnir, the head of section, the father of lightning, and the god of thunder, Joe!
I like it. I think you should do this all the time. I like that intro.
My pleasure. This is Kevin Smith's favorite episode, also known as episode 37. And in tonight's show, we will discuss Zachery Levi of Chuck and Thor fame has landed the lead role of Shazam. We will discuss. And Mel Gibson, Danny Glover, and Richard Donner are all on board for trying for Lethal Weapon 5. Okay. We will discuss. And last but not least, we have our review of Thor, The Dark World. How are you, sir?
World. I am just dandy. I am actually slightly under the weather, but I think I'm going to be okay for this podcast. But I just got out of a car from doing a 2-hour drive, and I spent a lot of that time kind of clutching my belly a little bit, and I'm not really sure why. But I'm here for you.
You're not here for me.
My charming self is here.
You're not here for me. You're here for our audience. I don't matter.
True. This is
all right?
true.
All I am is a tool. I am your tool for helping you. I am your muse to help you to find the inner you, the inner critic in you that speaks in a voice that no one has heard before.
You're my muse, huh? Okay.
Yeah, like Jason Mewes, that type of muse.
There you go.
It's episode 37. I intend to make a lot of Kevin Smith references.
And why is this his favorite podcast? His favorite number?
37. My girlfriend, 37.
In a row?
That's why.
There you go.
Can't believe I had to tell you that. Man, you must be tired.
Chosen from among all others by the immortal elders Solomon, Hercules, Atlas, Zeus, Achilles, Mercury, Billy Batson and his mentor travel the highways and byways of the land on a never-ending mission to right wrongs, to develop understanding, and to seek justice for all. In time of dire need, young Billy has been granted the power by the immortals to summon awesome forces at the utterance of a single word.
So, it was announced that we've known this for a while. It seems, we've discussed this a couple of times actually, and I was starting to get really annoyed with it. Many moons ago, some wants to say even years ago, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was cast as the villain for Shazam, as Black Adam, the villain who is the villain of Shazam, also known as Captain Marvel, but they can't call him Captain Marvel because of legal rights, but whatever. And this past week, they actually announced that they have found the person that they're going to get to play Shazam. And it is Zachery Levi, he of Chuck fame, and who took over the part of Fandral for the most recent Ragnarok and Thor the Dark World, which we're going to be discussing tonight. It just seemed to segue in nicely. He has taken the lead part as Shazam, as Captain Marvel. So, look, I like Zachery Levi, but have you seen Shazam? Shazam is kind of yoked, and Zachery Levi is kind of not. This kind of feels like a goodness, what is his name? Topher Grace situation. Because Topher Grace playing Venom in Spider-Man 3, where Venom is supposed to be this big yoked, son of a bitch type guy. And here's Topher Grace, like the skinniest white guy ever. Yeah. So, I'm not feeling this bit of casting, to be perfectly honest with you. How about you?
Yeah, I don't really know much about this guy, and I'm trying to even place him. I mean, I just watched Thor: The Dark World for this podcast, and I'm having trouble placing him. He wouldn't be the first guy to get apart and kind of get jacked really fast for it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's possible, but yeah, I mean, just even kind of looks wise, I'm kind of going, all right, But yeah, you're right. I mean, if you're gonna cast Dwayne Johnson as the villain, you probably need somebody who's going to be pretty damn big to go up against him.
Yeah, you basically need like Hulk Hogan from 1980s to play Shazam at this point. Without the brother and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because I don't know if I could take Shazam, he who has the wisdom of Solomon, going like, "Listen here, brother, I'm gonna kick your butt. I'm gonna fire lightning out of my butt."
30-inch pythons, brother. We'll see. I don't know. I don't mind the villain being bigger. I'll say that. I kind of, there's a part of me that, like you said, Spider-Man versus Venom. I would have liked to see a big yoked Venom taking on kind of a skinnier Spider-Man. But Captain Marvel, he's basically, Superman size. So like a Henry Cavill versus Dwayne Johnson would have sort of worked.
Yeah, that's what he's supposed to be.
Yeah. So all right, I we'll see. Casting decisions are always a little strange. So we'll see.
Yeah. Listen, I like the guy as an actor. I think he's fine. I don't have anything against him. I just, if he's maybe he's Billy Batson. Maybe that's who he really is. Maybe he's not actually Shazam. Maybe he's Billy Batson. That's Shazam's alter ego.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm curious if they're gonna actually go that route, where Billy Batson's sort of a whole separate guy.
I don't know. I hope they better go with that. That's really what it's supposed to be.
Sure.
He's a criminal's worst nightmare. A cop who enjoys the danger.
No guns, no jujitsu, just bring him down.
Do you really want to jump?
Well, then that's fine with me. Come on.
Wait, what do you mean? Wait a minute. What the...
He was ready to retire. Now, he's gonna wish he had.
Gun! Oh!
Raj, meet your new partner.
New partner?
Too old for this. If these guys can just stand each other.
What you got in there?
Boy and Smith?
A lot of old timers carry those.
The bad guys don't stand a chance.
Okay, on to fascinating potential news.
I don't know what to make of this, to be perfectly honest with you. It's been reported, and I have the article up right here from Deadline Hollywood, that Mel Gibson, Danny Glover, and Richard Donner are exploring at Warner Brothers the possibility of Lethal Weapon 5. All four have pulled in nearly $1 billion worldwide box office, so I guess it's not out of the line for them to try and do that. But I mean, didn't they already do the whole "we're getting too old for this," shtick
right.
in Lethal Weapon 3?
I'm too old for this shit.
3. Glover was saying it from
4?
the beginning, and frankly, they were all looking pretty. By the fourth one, it was getting embarrassing.
Yeah.
It's funny. I have such a weird. I'm so torn by this because, we just went through a lot of films where, we talked about it since Rocky Balboa, where the trend is to bring back the aging actors to kind of revisit and see what they're doing in their later years, and
There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with it. Sometimes there's very interesting avenues to take, but yeah, Lethal Weapon. On the other hand, it was really kind of getting tired, and it was almost like I wasn't really tired of Lethal Weapon as much as Lethal Weapon would seem to get tired of Lethal Weapon. Like they kept going down this whole like, oh my god, we're too old. I mean, for God's sakes, they had Martin Riggs was in a boxing, like he was boxing a rookie cop, right? And the rookie was beating the crap out of him to the point where he faked a shoulder injury to get out of it. And he even said, he's like, oh my God, that rookie was running all over me. I couldn't, whatever. And I'm like, you're supposed to be the most dangerous man in the world. This is Martin Riggs.
I know. This is the only way I would accept Lethal Weapon 5. With the following words. Written by Shane Black.
Yeah, that would do it too.
That would excite me a little bit more. I don't know if it would completely bring me into it, but I think having the guy who wrote the first one write what is essentially the last one, as far as I'm concerned, I think that would be a real nice way of doing it.
I'm with you there. The only reason why I sound even the slightest bit hesitant is because I'm saying to myself, Shane Black can write phenomenal action buddy cop movies. Is that what this would be if they drag these poor guys out of retirement to just, I don't know what they're gonna do. Who knows? I don't know. I mean, Mel Gibson, he's still, I don't know. These guys are not old. Maybe I shouldn't say that. I mean, Glover's getting up there. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sort of baffled by it. I just don't know how to feel about it either way. And this is another series. This is another one of those series where started out Aces, one of the best buddy cop films of all time. Easily, I mean, I might as well say it now. When we get to this film, I guarantee I'm going to give it a 10. Mm-hmm. 2 was a solid follow-up, pretty damn good. And then 3, you just went, what was that? And then by the time, it actually follows the. I think it sort of follows the Christopher Reeve Supermans actually. 1 was perfection. 2 was a pretty respectable follow-up. 3 was just, you're scratching your head going, who decided that was a good idea? Then by 4, you're just like, oh, stop. Please just stop. 4 was painful. I mean, every time I talk to somebody about 4 and I meet somebody who actually likes it, they go, Jet Li. I go, yeah, I know, but I could watch a Jet Li movie someplace else. Don't destroy this. Oh God, it was. I mean, it was just way past over the top. It was like Fast and the Furious style action before it even came out.
I'm not going to compare it to the two. I have never seen a Fast and the Furious movie, and I'm not about to start. And unless. Like, we would have to have a situation where we've hit like 500,000 fans, and the fans requested it before I would ever watch any of those movies. I'm just telling you right now. So that means we're never watching it. That works for me. Mel Gibson is 61 years old, and Danny Glover is 71 years old.
Much younger than Sylvester Stallone, and he's still making movies. So I can see it happening. It's not out of the realm of possibility, frankly. See, you know what's funny too is I always find that a lot of the films, a lot of franchises, they keep doing the sequels, and in the sequels they keep referencing how old they're getting. Mm-hmm. And then years later they want to come back and do it all over again. It's like, well, if you stopped complaining about being old the whole time, it wouldn't seem so weird.
Especially now that it's what. It was like 87 when the first one came out. It was like, I'm getting too old for this shit. That's 87. Right, yeah. And we're now talking 30 years later. By those numbers, he should be dead. He should not be like a cop. He should be like the chief of the precinct or something like that. I don't even remember what was his birthday in the first one. Because it was like
he was 50. He was turning 50 years old, so that means he would be 80 now.
Right. So he was already playing above his age. In that part, and so I no, unless it opens up with the funeral of frickin' Murtaugh, there's just no way.
And he was talking about retiring, I think, since the third one, or at least the. So I mean, I again, this you have to be talking about two guys. I mean, Riggs, I could totally see being a cop until his dying day. Mm-hmm. Murtaugh, no, he would be long retired by now. I'm sure they'd still be friends and they'd hang out and probably still do Christmas and whatever together. But yeah, I can't see Murtaugh being anywhere near being a cop. So I don't know. I'm scratching my head. How would you do this and do something that was interesting and worth digging them out for?
The only thing I could think of is you introduce the next generation of lethal weapons, and these guys, and they're mentoring them or something like that. That's the only thing I could think of that would make any logical sense. If you go like the Creed route,
Yeah.
where you got these two cops that are like, well, who were the and like Riggs and Murtaugh, they're off like together, like in retirement together or something like that with their families and stuff, and that's the only thing I could think of that would make any type of logical sense, because the first action scene that happens with either of these two guys, it's gonna be like that scene from Taken 3 where it takes 97 takes for Liam Neeson to hop a fence.
I think it's gonna be more like Driving Miss Daisy.
Slow down, Riggs.
Yeah. You know what's
Take
funny?
me to the Piggly Wiggly.
Even his kids at this stage of the game would be pretty old if you think about it. I guarantee that even the kids have to be in their 40s for crying out loud.
Yeah, pretty much. So it's not even like it could be their kids, Well, I mean, it could be Mel Gibson's kids, because it was like 98 when him and Rene Russo had the kid.
Oh, that's true. And wasn't and Rihanna was pregnant, I think, with Chris Rock's baby in the fourth one.
Yeah. So they could probably,
maybe the kids are cops now.
Yeah, there you go. The Riggs's kid and Murtaugh's grandkid.
That's okay.
It's a stretch.
Jesus.
But
Oh my God, those kids would be the kids would be in their 20s already. Holy shnikes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Color me. I'm interested, and I'm waiting. I'm waiting to see what they do with this.
I don't know if I am, but hey, if they get the right people on board, who knows?
This is one of those movies. If this actually comes out, I will see it regardless. And this is one of those movies where friends of mine from high school will be calling me up saying, "Hey, are you going to go see that Lethal Weapon? Because I want to go see it with you. Because I want to see your reaction." Seriously.
After all this time, now you come to visit me, brother. Why? To mock. I need your help. But I wish I could trust you. If you did, you'd be the fool I always took you for.
Some believe that before the universe, there was nothing. They're wrong. There was darkness, and it has survived.
What's gonna happen?
I gave you my word. I would return for you.
The adventures of Thor, the mighty Avenger, continues as he battles to save Earth and all the 9 realms from a shadowy enemy that predates the universe itself. In the aftermath of Marvel's Thor and Marvel's The Avengers, Thor fights to restore order across the cosmos, but an ancient race, led by the vengeful Malekith, returns to plunge the universe back into darkness. Faced with an enemy that even Odin and Asgard cannot withstand, Thor must embark on his most perilous and personal journey yet, one that will reunite him with Jane Foster and force him to sacrifice everything to save us all. Written by Christopher L. Yost, Christopher Marcus, and Stephen McFeely. Story by Don Payne and Robert Rodat. Directed by Alan Taylor. Ladies and gentlemen, Thor, The Dark World.
So is that what this movie was about? As you're reading that off, I'm like, oh, that's what happened.
And I think you watched it twice this past weekend, didn't you?
I watched it. It's funny. I didn't get through it the second time. I watched it when I could, but yeah, I watched it all the way through last week, and then I just in the last day or two put it on again to kind of refresh my memory again. Because again, you know what? I think I mentioned this like in a few weeks ago. We were talking about this film. It came up, and I said, you know what? I remember watching it. Wasn't a bad film, but if you asked me what happened, I have no clue. I can't remember a thing about it. And as I was watching it again, I swear I had the same experience. I watched it. I watched it all the way through. I was not bored. I was enjoying it as I watched it. But then, if you were to ask me later what happened, I don't have a clue. And
it was actually quite amusing.
What's that?
it actually had quite a lot of amusing moments. This movie is almost like it's like if Thor was kind of like a serious tale of a man, a fish out of water type thing, and you've got Thor Ragnarok coming up, where everybody says is really, really freaking funny. This movie is almost like the transitioning point because there were a lot of funny little bits in this movie.
Yes, I agree with that, and I was glad that a lot of that fish out of water stuff was not there this time. He's not walking around Earth blindly trying to figure things out. No, he was on a mission. He's on a mission this time, and he's not here to fool around. There was, like you said, there's comedy there is, but not that kind of like, I need a dog or a cat big enough to ride. So yeah, I liked it. I liked it again. I like it for what it is, but it's just one of those where it's kind of like nameless villains with a nameless substance with a nameless plot to destroy the world. Okay, and you just take it on face value and run with it, I suppose. But again, kind of like that Iron Man 2-ish feel. It just sort of felt like a little filler adventure. Like nothing really memorable happens, and nothing really pushes the Thor story forward that I can really tell. But there are creative things in it, and we'll talk about it
as much as we can. I found it to be okay. I went into when I first went in to see the movie, I was on it. I was kind of like, okay, I could take it, I could leave it. And when I saw it, I was like, you know what? I was entertained. And sometimes maybe that's all you can ask for in a movie, especially with a character with a relatively complex and rich history as Thor. Maybe that's all you can ask for. My kid, he loved it. He knows who Malekith is, so he was excited to see him in there. But in all actuality, this story is nothing more than, if the first Thor was a placeholder to get to the Avengers, this movie is kind of a placeholder to get to Infinity War, because this is the reveal of the first Infinity Gem. Okay? That's what this is. This is the reveal of the first Infinity Gem. Even though technically the Tesseract was the first Infinity Gem that showed up in the series, this is the first one where they actually refer to it as an Infinity Stone.
Oh, is that right? Because that got right past me.
Did you not see the? It was in the cutscene in the closing credits.
Oh no, I didn't catch that. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Oh wait, no, maybe I did. What was it? What was the end scene again?
There were two scenes. The first scene was the big guy, Volstagg and Sif, going to see the Collector with the Ether.
Yes.
Saying that the Tesseract is already on Asgard, and it's not safe to have two Infinity Gems in the same location.
I did catch that, yeah.
Yeah. So that really is what it was, as far as I'm concerned.
So the Ether is essentially an Infinity Stone?
Yeah, it's the substance? Reality Stone. It's the Reality Stone.
Okay. See, that it's fun. Okay, I was, because it was funny, because when I was watching this, first of all, when the film opens and Anthony Hopkins is doing his voiceover, I kept having flashbacks of Bram Stoker's Dracula. It was like the same voice, same intonation, talking about a war going on, and he talked about the Ether, and I was like, I couldn't stop thinking about Dracula. But okay, yeah, but I wasn't sure what the Ether was. In fact, I almost was. One of the complaints I had was that I felt like this was kind of like Infinity Stone-like, but just sort of slipped in between the cracks and went away. But I'm wrong about that. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely an Infinity Stone. It is the Reality Stone. The Tesseract was the space has the Space Stone in it. Loki's scepter had the Mind Stone in it. The Time Stone, of course, is in the Eye of Agamotto, which is owned by Doctor Strange. So you have space, time, reality. Oh, and the Guardians had the Power Stone. The Purple Stone is the Power Stone.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. Yep. Okay.
So the only stone left is the Soul Stone, which I'm assuming we're gonna either get a hint about in Thor, or who knows.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Considering Black Panther, wouldn't surprise me if Black Panther was the Soul Stone. Well, no, but hear me out. I don't mean it in like Soul Train or Soul Food or anything like that. But the power he wields as the Black Panther is like it's the soul of the Panther. So maybe he gets that power from the Soul Stone. It's not too out of the realm, because after all, the if they're going with the story, vibranium, which is found in Wakanda mostly, is actually from an alien spaceship that crash landed in that area that the Wakandans found, and it's what brought their technology level higher than anybody else, because they basically reverse engineered it and moved forward that way.
Okay.
So if they're going with that plot, there's nothing to say that spaceship couldn't have had a soul stone on it. Mm-hmm. So who knows? But it's going to pop up within the next 2 or 3 movies, because we got Infinity War coming next May.
Mm.
But now that we've gone over the entire MCU plot line...
back to Thor the Dark. Again, I like it. I enjoy it. I have no problems with it. It just, again, I felt like it was a lot of, like, Jane Foster's there, and she finds more sciencey stuff, which somehow leads her back to Thor. Well, first of all, here's a question. She's on the date with the nerdy guy. It's not going very well. Darcy runs in saying, "Look, look at these readings. Beep, 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 beep. They're off the charts. Must be broken." No. Mm-hmm. Am I understanding this correctly? The thing going off the charts is an indication that Thor's coming?
No. What she was looking for had to still do with her theory about the Einstein-Rosenberg bridges. What was happening was the convergence was causing ripples in reality that was opening up like these mini wormholes to different realities and different areas. Mm-hmm. That's what you saw when she was going... when they were like throwing the Coke can off the top of the stairs and it was coming out the other side, or if it sometimes wouldn't come back.
Incidentally, do you know what that reminded me of a lot?
What?
Remember the Animatrix?
Oh, Jesus! I hadn't even thought about that.
There was one Animatrix episode, and the gist of it was, it was I can't remember now if it was called the Haunted House or something. But yeah, it was something was happening in this building in this area where it was basically glitches in the Matrix, just like that. So these kids would go in and fool around with this stuff because they don't know why the glitches are there, because they don't know what the Matrix is, but they were just sort of having fun with throwing things that would vanish and come back, or they would throw something down, it would sort of come back up, and gravity was being defied. I mean, there was. If you watch that again, you'll and watch these sort of side by side, it's extremely similar. Mm-hmm. To the point where to the point where the word ripoff is in the back of my mind, but I don't quite go there yet. I'll even say homage. But yeah, I think somebody was inspired by that scene, and when they were doing this,
it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, Matrix does have a big influence on a lot of things.
Sure.
But yeah, so no, that's really, her devices going off had to do with her just trying to seek out new sources of these type of wormholes. Yeah. Maybe her way of finding Thor. Who knows? I don't think it was necessarily exactly, oh my God, I'm detecting Thor, as much as, oh, okay, I found another instance of a wormhole opening up in the general vicinity, and here we go. Mm. So yeah, so she goes through accidentally goes through a wormhole. Actually, it sucked her in, and for lack of a better term, the ether chooses her, and decides to meld something with her, and it's slowly killing her, and Malekith comes and gets it. It's as simple as that.
And the fact that it is Jane Foster is just a coincidence.
Sure. Let's go with that. Let's go. It could easily have been Darcy.
Because I'm saying to myself, like, did Jane Foster get chosen for a reason? Is it just a coincidence, or was this like a way to get at Thor?
It's hard to say, because since it turns out it is an Infinity Gem, there is the conceit that an Infinity Stone will want to be found, and will try to find its way to the right people using any means necessary. Like, if it's looking for a specific somebody, it will call itself to somebody who is in a pathway that could lead to that person. Mm-hmm. So it's not, I guess it's not out of the realm, but it's not explained in this movie. You're only like a nerd, like, you know, which I guess I'm admitting to, but only a nerd would really know that that was the case. There is no real logical sense as to why it had to be her.
Right.
And it's plot convenience. It's more than anything else. They have Natalie Portman. They needed to get her in here. And incidentally, this movie has a very interesting little side story that we should cover real quick. Okay? There's a reason why this is the last movie with Natalie Portman in it. When they were talking about doing the sequel to Thor, Natalie Portman championed a director to do it, and the director got hired. And they started negotiations. They started talking and breaking plot and everything like that. And after a while, the director, her name was Patty Jenkins. You may know her from Wonder Woman. Mm-hmm. Okay. Finally, there's no real clear story, but there's no clear story of what happened. But she said that she couldn't do the movie the way she would have wanted to do it, so she walked away, and Natalie Portman publicly was mad about that because she had championed this woman. So that's probably one of the reasons we don't see Natalie Portman. Now, I know we don't normally cover rumor, but there's a key little thing about this movie in that it is the loss of Patty Jenkins in this movie that set the stage for the division between the television and movie versions of the Marvel Universe. This was the beginning of the fight right here. When they lost Patty Jenkins. Kevin Feige has proven that he feels that, you know, the way he wants to do the movies is we have these three things we need to have happen in the movie, and you figure out how you want to do it any way you want. Leaves it up to the writers and the directors. Since the split from Marvel, the movies have shown that they have gone more to an artist level. In fact, more artists are even more willing to work with it. James Gunn came back twice. James Gunn was the first director since Jon Favreau who directed 2 movies back to back, with the exception of the Russo brothers. Now the Russo brothers, not only did they do the 2 Captain Americas, but then they went on to do the Infinity War movies coming up. You've got Scott Dickerson. He's coming back for the next Doctor Strange. The guy, I'm sorry, I don't remember his name. The guy doing Black Panther has been raving, saying, "Yeah, they want me back. I'm back." So it's a far cry from the old we'll see and so on and so forth. They didn't bring back they didn't bring back Kenneth Branagh. I don't know why. I guess they wanted to just go in another direction. They didn't bring back Joe Johnston from the first Captain America. So this was the beginning of the end of the old regime, because the way that they used to do the comic book movies, the Marvel movies, was they had what they called this creative committee, and this creative committee was made up of Marvel writers and things like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's good to have that committee along to be like, well, it would be this, to help them out with some of the plot elements. But it seems that at some point they had veto power, and they would basically say, no, for this, you need to establish this, and you need to do this. Like, the creative committee is what is directly responsible for what Iron Man 2 became, and why Jon Favreau left.
Oh, right. Okay.
But now there's no more creative committee. It is all through Kevin Feige. And it has been that way since just before the start of Civil War.
Nice.
Okay. But this was the start. This was the start of the battle. This is what led Kevin Feige to go to the head of Disney and be like, I can't work like this, make a choice. And Disney broke up the divisions. But we should be talking about the movie. And
that's interesting stuff.
Yeah, I figured this was an interesting little behind-the-scenes thing. So yeah, the movie has it picks up with Loki being in jail, and okay, there is a lot about this movie that I really like. For one of the things, I like that we got to see more of Asgard. I like that we got to see a lot of the world, how they fought. I have no idea why the hell all of Odin's men decided they were going to use swords against a bunch of dark elves that had laser pistols. What the hell was that?
I totally agree with you about Asgard. I kind of had the same feeling. I felt like I liked that Asgard seemed like more of a real place in this one. Like you're seeing more than just the ballrooms, and the big dining halls and whatever. They show them outside fighting, practicing or whatever. Yes, very good stuff.
Beautiful stuff. Very, very alive world. And Thor being, the hero, and not the arrogant guy anymore. He's likable. He's personable. He has a sense of humor. Even in that first fight where he beats the crap out of the rock guy. I mean, there's just and the way that he was with the Warriors 3 in that opening battle felt more like, hey, these are my best friends in the entire world, than in the first one where it was like, oh, hey, it's those guys.
Yeah, right. No, I totally agree. I agree, and like I think you kind of mentioned real quick last time that they were in one of the guy's realms, fighting in his
Hogan,
realm, whatever. Yeah, I liked it. Yeah, it was very good. And even the scene with the big rock guy, just him bashing. Anybody else?
All yours.
Anyone else?
It was awesome.
It was beautiful. It was nice. It felt natural, and it felt when he's planning after Malekith has come and attacked, and oh my God, everybody gets a great scene. For God's sakes, frickin' Heimdall is standing there, and he's like, "What the hell's going on? I hear something," and he just chases after the damn thing, runs up the bridge, stabs the damn thing, and knocks it out of the damn sky. Come on, that was awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
He had his standout scene. Sif had her standout scene. Fandral had his standout scene. Volstagg had a standout scene. All of the main people in Asgard got this one moment of badassery, as far as I'm concerned, which was nice. Except for Hogan. For some reason, Hogan just decided to stay home.
Yeah. Well, and even Renee Russo, Thor's mother.
Oh, she got the baddest ass this scene of all.
Yeah, that was not expected, but I mean, yeah, that was a little rough, but pretty good scene.
You sound so nonplussed.
Well, there's a part of me that when that happened, I was like, well, I guess there has to be some stakes in this film. There has to be some, low moment. And how many movies does Rene Russo feel like doing? There was a part of me that just sort of felt like, okay, that's what this one is gonna have. It was a good scene, but not a great scene. But good enough that I'm not here to pick on it. But there was, it felt like it was just the next thing to happen, I guess.
The next thing that kind of sort of had to happen, I guess. Its plot definitely moved along as A to B to C to D to E. I don't feel like there was anything really surprising. It was just, fun. I felt, more fun. There was a lot more to enjoy about this movie than in the first movie. It's obvious that they had a bigger budget.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. The budget that the first one didn't have is here. We're getting more action scenes and a lot more excitement than the first one. I like the fact that, and you started to say this before, but because we are sort of transitioning into Infinity War territory, I said the first one that there's a good balance between science fiction and fantasy in that world. And I felt like they were embracing more of the science fiction part. There were actual spaceships and laser ships and laser beams, and I like that. I thought that was pretty good. So yeah, that part was very good. Everything, yeah. I mean, again, everything about it was really, like I said, there's nothing about this that I looked at and said, oh, I don't like that. I mean, some of it just sort of felt like, okay, here's the next one, and it's more of that, and but again, I was pretty much entranced the whole time. I enjoyed it. I mean, if anything, if there's anything about this film, like I said, it's almost hard to even put my finger on what's wrong with it. That it doesn't really grab me, like to bring me to the next level. I mean, again, you get the Jane Foster stuff, and again, it's kind of. See, I remember when Thor appears right down like on Earth, and like he just kind of goes up to her and they talk, and then something happens and she blows something up or whatever, and he says like, this lady is sick, I'm gonna take her with there was something about that was kind of very lackluster, where he just shows up, they just talk, and again I complained about this in the last one, like, would it really kill anybody just to drop her off a cliff and him just kind of flying up and rescuing her at the last second with some music, dun dun dun, it's again, they're so allergic to doing that stuff nowadays. I feel like, I don't know, can I get something in there, like something resembling romance and a hero rescuing a lady? I don't know, like they really just don't want to do that. So so they just sort of like and even the way he appears, it was kind of like the big laser show happens, and all of a sudden, boom, he's standing there.
Yeah.
It was almost like when they did the thing where he appears on the battlefield in the beginning. You know what I mean? When he first shows up, it was great. Like the lightning comes down and the rainbow bridge sort of thing, and he comes flying out. The hammer flies out first, and then he catches it, and there he is standing there, ta-da! And then the next thing he does, he smashes the hammer on the ground, and the whole earth shakes.
Yep.
I mean, it was like boom. That's an entrance, and then there's Jane Foster, and all of a sudden, like, ta-da! And there's Thor standing there. Hey, what's up? Yeah, sorry, never called you again. But shit happens. What else is going on? Like, I mean, just nothing there was like. Again, it was really oddly cold, So I like I said, I don't know why they can't seem to do like anything resembling like a romance with them, or he can't rescue her ever. I mean, I don't think he's ever actually rescued her.
No, he kind of sort of has, but that's debatable. In many ways, this movie was hobbled by its predecessor. And its predecessor ended on a cliffhanger of her waiting for him and him not coming back because of the Rainbow Bridge and stuff like that. And this is the beginning of them resolving that, which is like 2 years later. So in many respects, she's kind of justified with him, because in the end of that movie, he's like, I promise, I shall return. Yeah. And he did, rescued New York, never contacted her, never called her or anything like that.
Well, yeah, right.
But
I agree with that.
But that's what I mean. It's like it was hampered by that. And here's the other thing that's actually moving against this movie. I would have been very happy if the Marvel movies had been like this. Relatively sterile, but, fun, exciting, entertaining. I would have absolutely been fine with that. This movie, in a weird way, suffers by the next movie in the Marvel movies that come out, which is Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Which,
yeah,
it did. Where Cap didn't have the shackles of the previous movie on it because he went into the future. So any of those stories you already know are pretty much done. And yet, they still managed to be a sequel because they had that one awful scene. Not awful in as it was bad, but just like awful as in heart-wrenching scene where he goes to see Peggy on her goddamn deathbed.
Yeah.
And everything like that. There's more emotion in that scene between those two, as Peggy is like trying to remember him and forgets him and then remembers him again in like that one second. There's more emotion there than anything between Jane Foster and Thor in either of these movies.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, again, it's like in the first one, it just felt like the only reason the two of them sort of ended up as like the couple sort of is because the story says these two are the couple, but I didn't get that in any way at all. And yeah, here's more of the same. It's just like, it's okay, hey, what's up? I don't know, just Yeah, I mean, at the least, you could say that in this one, because she's infected by the ether, he takes her to figure out what's wrong with her and to save her. Right. But even that, it's done in the most sterile way. Again, you're talking about you said before, like I said, he never rescued her. You're like, well, kinda. Well, yeah, in a roundabout way. I mean, I guess he's rescuing everybody, and she's here too, I suppose. But I really can't think of a time where he, where he just flies in and saves her at the last minute.
Not in that respect. No, he didn't save her in that respect. And in many respects, she kind of saved him at the end, because she's the one that activated the little bridge, the little wormhole stuff that sent Malekith to his death, basically.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah. I mean, if that's here's the thing. There's nothing wrong with that, because technically, at one point, the Black Widow saves Captain America's life, and he saves her life.
Oh yeah.
All right, and you could do it without being like. The problem is like there is a way to handle gender identity. There is a way to handle diversity, and there's a way of doing things without making the woman seem, weak and frail and unable to handle it. Which is what people are complaining about. So, like, the weaker writers come up with these silly ways of doing it, whereas the stronger writers can actually do a thing. It's like, no, she can handle it, but just like anybody, they can, they have moments where it's like, okay, I need help. And here's help. Da-da-da, here comes Cap. And even Cap has that moment. But there's nothing like that between these two. And there can't be, because he's a god. He's a god, and she's not. All she can do is use the science thing. And the science thing... we're watching this movie and we're saying to ourselves, she's talking science, and the science she's talking about is relatively real world stuff, and to me that seems more gobbledygook than I throw my hammer and I fly.
right.
Just because of the way it's presented.
Yeah, true. Again, I do not in any way, shape, or form have any problems with the female rescuing the male. I do not mind that at all. But frankly, I'd rather see more rescuing of people. Like, let him rescue her, and then later she rescues him or whatever, as opposed
rescue
to...
Rescue anybody. Who was rescuing her?
Yeah. That's the thing. Like a lot of the trouble with these movies, they can go down a path where you can't feel stakes. Like, okay, I get the ether, and the guy wants to ruin the whole universe because he's meanie, and but I don't know, like, I mean, at some point I need like actual physical stakes. Like, what will happen right now if that guy does something? You know what I mean? Not just I don't know.
It's like I said, it's mostly writing. It's writing and directing. There are ways that you can handle things in a more modern sensibility without compromising heroics, which is what we have here. We've compromised heroics for the sake of sterility or neutrality, whatever buzzword you want to use. That's really what we've got going on here. Whereas there has been demonstration by other writers in other Marvel movies that show, no, you don't have to be shackled by these things. You can make them work in a way that gives everybody a feel like, as much as people like, you realize how many people were like, yeah, Black Widow's cool, she kicks butt and so on and so forth, and then Winter Soldier came along and it's like, holy shoot, this woman's freaking amazing. Like, that movie excelled her character in ways that the previous two movies hadn't.
Yeah, it is. It's funny. She's another one, kind of like the way Hulk is kind of going now, where like their stories are being told just through their presence in other films, and it's amazing how well that's happening. Like, I mean, Black Widow has never had her own film, but she is a very, very fleshed out character.
Yeah. In some ways fleshed out more than a lot of the other characters. We really still don't know a lot about Vision, but Vision's had 2 movies so far. We know just a very little bit. We don't know a lot about Wanda still. We know about her power. We know a little bit of her backstory, but I don't feel like I feel like we haven't quite gotten the feel for her yet, and that's really no fault of her own. It sucks that her second movie was Civil War, where you were basically flexing around every Marvel character that you had up to this point, save for Thor and Hulk, and trying to make sure that everybody got time. It's, to be honest with you, I look at Civil War and say to myself, that is a movie that is a miracle that it worked. It's a miracle.
Sure. Agreed. Yeah. But it's funny, your point before about how Captain America, by the second film, he's not really saddled with backstory. That is a good point about Thor. 'Cause Thor, it's funny. See, one of the problems I had, not a major problem, but one of the things I noticed was that, when at the end of the first Thor, again, he destroys the Rainbow Bridge, and it was like, oh my God, this is such a humongous deal. Loki looks like he's committing suicide, but I guess that doesn't even count, because by the time we get to the after credits scene, he's already kind of back. There was a lot of things that seemed to happen in the end of that film that kind of went away real fast, like destroying the Bifrost. Again, by the second film, first of all, he's already figured out how to come down to Earth again by the Avengers, and by Thor 2, it's just fixed. So I kind of felt like the gravity of that gesture in the end, the end of the first one, I don't know. You've sort of undermined that by just brushing it off like it never happened.
Yeah. I think it's one of the reasons why Thor Ragnarok is going to work, because I think that the guy who's directing it has a very specific vision. I mean, allegedly we're going to lose Asgard, or we're going to lose a lot of people from Asgard, or whatever the case. I mean, it's Ragnarok. That's basically what's supposed to happen. Mm-hmm. I think this will shake up a lot about Thor and put him in a better position if, Helmsworth decides he wants to continue playing the part. And honestly, I think the series needs it. There is nothing wrong with the character of Thor. They just haven't figured out what to do with him yet. And that was kind of sort of how Captain America, how the first Avenger was. It was like, okay, this is a great character, this is a great origin story, but we don't know what to do with him yet. And it wasn't until the Russo brothers came along, it's like, we know what to do. This is Captain America.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I feel we're very ready for a great, just over the top Thor story. And again, that is the painful part of this, is because that Thor is a good character. I mean, again, when he shows up at the beginning of Dark World, throws the hammer down, and then she turns around, she goes, "I had this under control." He goes, "Oh, that's why everything is on fire," or something or other. And then and he gets cut off because somebody tackles him and whatever. He's a fun, likable character. I mean, I've said it before. I mean, I really think Hemsworth does a great job with him. Probably not exactly the way I would have imagined Thor on the big screen, yet somehow it really works. There's a levity that they pull off that I kind of thought they wouldn't have been able to. I mean, I've always sort of seen Thor as the over the top Shakespearean character and not one to sit around and tell jokes. Yet they tried it with a little levity and it works. And I really, it's a character that is worth pursuing and exploring. So, I am very excited for Ragnarok, because I feel like they are going to try some new things with this character. And again, you've opened, like you said before, they've opened more doorways now. We've done Guardians of the Galaxy, and we're in space. We're very comfortable there now. So some crazy things can happen. Different worlds, different things. So yeah, and I said it before too. What I liked about Dark World is that they do sort of get into that sci-fi part. The whole sci-fi element is a little more present in this one, and they're making it work. So, I guess I just feel at the end of the day, there's something about Dark World that to me feels very disposable. You go in, you watch it, you forget about it, and it's just okay. It was good. You're not rushing to get this one on your shelf, because it's not, there's not a whole lot that I really can. I mean, like I said, I watch it and I forget it. I really do sometimes feel hard pressed to think back to the film and say, oh, that part was great or that part was great. It moved. The pace was fine. Loki's back, and I think he gets a little more depth to his character too. By the way,
very much so.
He's, instead of just being the evil trickster who has no redeemable qualities, now suddenly there's a little redemption in him, which I thought was good. I felt like his character was kind of getting to where, look, if you're going to keep him around, I need something. I need some reason to actually like him. And I mean, it was almost getting to the point where Thor kept trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, and after a while, it's like you're making Thor look kind of stupid.
Yeah.
So the fact that Loki did sort of turn around and fight with him worked. I thought that was pretty good.
And actually, I felt the fake out was very cool as well. For a second there, I really did think that he really did, turn on his brother.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, what's your score? Let's have it. Out of 10.
I kind of hate to say it, but I'm doing another 7. I feel like it's right in line with the first one, and it didn't, like I said, it feels disposable at the end of the day. It's solid entertainment. The effects are fantastic. The action is good. There's no part of it that I don't like. But it's just, you watch it, you forget it. It's fast food, but good fast food. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it at 7.
Okay. Well, I also gave it a 7. So actually, we're right in line.
Yeah.
They're good. They're just empty. They're entertaining enough, and honestly, even watching it, and this is like my 4th time watching it because I have a kid. This is my 4th time watching it. I was still entertained. I still laughed at certain things, so I can't really fault it. It did its job. Could it do it better? I think it could do it better, honestly. So, Who asked you?
Who asked me? I'm gonna go. This is kind of a cheat because I kind of did it last time too, but I'm gonna go to that serious lack of any spark and chemistry between him and Natalie Portman. And again, I gave my example. I said he shows. It's almost like as soon as she's there, and again, I don't think this is even her, but like Thor appears and it's like, hey, what's up? How's it going? Yeah, sorry, I was supposed to call you, but I didn't. I just nothing. There's no spark there whatsoever, and I can't for the life of me figure out. It's almost like there has to be just some plain old overused techniques to do romance, and it's almost like they're not even bothering to use those. Give me something. Nothing is happening between the two of them that I can really see any kind of a genuine spark.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I'm almost in the similar vein because for me, it was the Earth scenes. Just whenever they were on Earth, I kind of was like, can we get back to Asgard? Can we get back to Svartalheim? Can any of those places? Nothing against Stellan Skarsgård, but man, what they did to his character in this movie is like, really? He's running around Stonehenge naked? Bravo. That's great writing. Good job that one.
And that was confusing too. And I guess the point of this is that Loki's been messing with his mind, but then he sort of snaps back.
Yeah.
I guess this is like a lingering.
And then boom, he's all cured.
Yeah, and this is after the Avengers, so that confused me a little bit.
Yeah, it didn't. It was like a side comedy little thing that didn't need to be. I have nothing against the actor. I have nothing against Darcy when they did that scene where it was like Eric, Ian, Darcy, Mew Mew. Yeah. I laughed. I admit I laughed, but it was just. I really. They did such a great job with Asgard this time around, and with all the 9 realms and everything like that. I just wanted to be there. I didn't want to come back to Earth. I feel like when we're back at Earth, it's because he's Thor in the Avengers. Anytime he's back on Earth and he's not there with the Avengers, it just doesn't feel real to me.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, and again, the London scene that should have been really that was the big climax, and again, and better than the first one. I mean, the first one, like I said, the last time I said,
Yeah.
you know, as far as I could tell, that one guy walking down the street was the climax until he goes back to, that was really pretty lackluster. But here, at least you had something, and yeah, but again, it was okay. You know, I felt like the spaceship sort of lands and crashes into London, and just all right. For your consideration, Dave, what do you got?
Dude, this is a no-brainer. The Viking funeral for Frigga and the fallen Asgardians was the most beautiful thing that they had filmed in this entire movie.
Very nice.
I was moved by this scene like nobody's. The music was perfect. No words had to be spoken. Just, her, down the lake, and everybody just quiet, and they're shooting the arrows, the full Viking funeral. And at first, you're thinking to yourself, it's like, oh, that's great. There was a giant battle, and they're only burying her. And then, like, the rest of the arrows going, it's like, oh, it's for all the fallen, but like Frigga is like leading it. And quiet, and the music and the lights and stuff like that, all ending with the guard telling Loki, and Loki just kind of turns his back to the screen, and you're not sure how he's feeling about it, and then he just shatters all the furniture. I was like, that entire sequence is like the best thing that's been in any Thor movie so far as I'm concerned.
Nice. I like that one, yeah. Very true. Myself, I am going to go with Loki's redemption. And because I thought it was done really well. Like you said, there was a good fake out, and honestly, right when the fake out was happening, I was kind of like, oh, come on, really? I was really sort of disappointed with it, because I felt like, how many times are we going to fall for this one? I mean, it's almost like when Loki says in the Avengers, like when he does the trick when he vanishes. No!
Are you ever not going to fall for that?
Are you ever not going to fall for that? And it was almost like getting to be just like Loki in general. Are you ever not going to fall for something I do? So when he does actually turn around and fight alongside, I was saying to myself, thank you. I needed that at that point.
Yep. And turns out he faked Thor out anyway and is now sitting on the throne of Asgard. So I'm sure that's going to play into the next movie somehow.
Yeah. You
see, Hiddleston,
we'll see
man.
How that turns out.
Hiddleston is like the dream casting as far as I'm concerned, because the minute he gets involved in some way, shape, or form, it's hard to keep your eyes off of him. He really does encompass that role.
Yeah, he does have that classic. I mean, he has to be likable.
Yeah,
he is that the devilish little trickster, and it doesn't work unless he's a likable character. So he does kind of he's charming, he's attractive. So yeah, that's kind of what makes him work, and he plays it perfectly.
But on that note, next week, my man, next week,
Ragnarok. Oh my God! it's funny. I'm already recruiting my coworkers and saying I am going to see this next week. I got one guy who I work with. He's totally into Marvel, and he's like, that's it. We're seeing it. So yeah, I'm already making plans, and I tell you, I really do have such a good feeling for this film, and again, I feel like the Thors up until now, again, they've only held themselves back. I feel like, again, it's not that it's a bad character. It's not that these are bad stories. It's not. There's nothing really that wrong with them. I just feel like they've been holding themselves back and not shooting very far. And I feel like this one, they're swinging for the fences. And I have a really good feeling that they're going to just let this character go crazy, and we're going to get some really interesting stuff. I'm really excited for it. I'm seriously, this, honest to God, has been, ever since the first trailer came out, this was the one all year long I've been looking forward to most. More than Jedi, more than even Spider-Man, more than all of them. This was the one that I was really looking forward to.
I'm very much looking forward to it myself. I am not looking forward to trying to pronounce the director's name. But we'll see. But yes, I've got my tickets already. I'm going with my son. I basically get off of work Saturday morning, and we go right to the movie to see it Saturday morning.
Sweet.
IMAX 3D. So, yep.
Awesome.
So, looking forward to it. So, until
Awesome.
next time, until next week, good luck at work this week, my man.
Thank you, sir. And once again, I appreciate you helming the not only the editing duties this week, but the hosting duties. Technically, I thought that was a nice switch, and I say we keep that going for a little while.
We can do it all while you're in Alabama if you like there.
Sounds good. I like it. Perfect.
We'll do it all while you're in Alabama. Excellent. All right. So, until next time, you have a good night, my man. Get some sleep. You look a little tired. And good night, ladies and gentlemen.
See you next time. Thanks for listening to the Reviews Without Remorse podcast with Joe and Dave. Join us here every Thursday for a new episode. And be sure to check out the Reviews Without Remorse channel on YouTube and VidMe for spoiler-free reviews of new releases, as well as in-depth discussions of current and classic cinema. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider becoming a patron. You can find our page at patreon.com. As little as $1 a month goes a long way. All clips in this podcast are used for commentary and critique, and is considered fair use. No copyright infringement is intended.